Paula Deen, the Queen of Southern Cuisine, saw her empire crumble in a matter of days after the National Enquirer reported she had admitted to using the N-word. Now, though, some news organizations are pondering whether there was a rush to judgment, while others are saying no, there wasn't. When the National Enquirer first reported that Paula Deen admitted to using the N-word during a legal deposition, the story went viral, putting Deen on instant defense.
I beg for your forgiveness.
But Deen's words may have been taken out of context. The Poynter Institute, a media ethics organization, says the Enquirer created a narrative other news outlets echoed before the deposition transcripts were made public.
Today, she tried to limit the damage, but it was apparently too late.
That's an understatement. Paula Deen was dropped by the Food Network, Walmart, Target, and several sponsors. This week, Deen appeared on the Today Show with Matt Lauer, begging for forgiveness.
I have never, with any intention, hurt anybody on purpose, and I never would.
Deen also told Lauer she only used the word once, many years ago, after being robbed at gunpoint. In her deposition, she clearly states that times have changed and she'd never used the word today.
It's just not a part of who we are.
Now some members of the media are asking if Paula Deen got a fair shake. John McWhirter of Time.com says, Deen is old and she's sorry. She should get her job back. But New York Times food critic Frank Bruni writes, from her butter to her banter, she's a Confederate caricature and a reminder of a past that's still too present. Regardless of who is right, Paula Deen appears to be toast. You know, I hate to do this, but when making comparisons to other people, but I took a look at what Alec Baldwin did yesterday on Twitter with this, just maniacal homophobic rant. Nothing is going to happen to him. That was yesterday. Paula Deen said this and admitted saying it in a deposition 30 years ago, and she's been completely vilified. The other thing that the National Enquirer did was that cover said racist, racism, whatever it was, taking it to this next level, which is what really struck the panic in the heart of all her sponsors and networks and everything. There was no context of racism whatsoever. It was her admitting that, yeah, she grew up in the South and she has said that in the past, and the only time she can remember saying it was after she'd been robbed at gunpoint when she was retelling the story to her husband.
Why won't anything happen to Alec Baldwin?
He's, a popular guy.
Liberal.
Continue. I'm interested.
Well,
liberal guy.
I think this is a big dilemma for liberals because they look at him, they start laughing, even though he's this horrible guy who was terrible to his little girl. I mean, somebody wrote a piece about this in Slate or Salon or somewhere saying the liberal guilt of loving, Alec Baldwin on 30 Rock. But I think it has a lot to do with...
But I mean, going after homosexuals is a tough one because liberals embrace homosexuality.
Yeah,
he said some horrible things about this writer.
Maybe he'll pay for this one. I don't know. He seems to have been Teflon so far.
So
back to Paula Deen.
Well, I'm sorry. Go right ahead.
Well, I do think that there's been a lack of context because you never hear in any of these articles about the original court case that was filed against her by an employee charging hostile work environment. It's basically against her little brother Bubba, right? Charging him with everything from watching pornography at work to drinking to stealing money. And if you look at the original complaint, the derogatory statements are about Jews, and it's filed by a white woman. So you get the impression that it's an African American woman who's tired of hearing the N-word from Paula Deen in a restaurant that she owns, when in fact it's from a white woman who has never heard Paula Deen say that word. And so I do think that a bit of the context is lost. This is something in a court of law. Why can't we see whether, if the things that are being alleged are true, then she's probably getting what she deserved. But if they're not true, then, and this is just a disgruntled employee, then, I think you see it a little differently.
I think that there's other context here, too. On the racial matter, first of all, Paula Deen may have told Matt Lauer that she only used the N-word once, but that isn't what she said in her deposition. She said, I probably used it a number of other times over the years.
But then she couldn't recall what?
But she couldn't recall, no. And then there was this idea she had for the slavery-themed wedding for her brother.
She didn't use that term
absolutely
either.
Charming. No, but she agreed when that characterization was made to her. She did not disagree. But the main thing I want to try to get at is I think that people have forgotten what thin ice she was skating on to begin with, because in fact this bit a year ago about you know, pushing this poisonous diet on people while not revealing the fact that she had type 2 diabetes, this did enormous damage to her. And she was already in a position where one more false move and you're gone, lady. And that's what happened.
Now, wait a minute. Have you ever had the Paula Deen marshmallow mud cake? You know, when you put the mini marshmallows on, the cake's so hot, then you put the frosting on, it drizzles over the side. I mean, it's really delicious. And now I feel as though I will be a bad person if I eat the marshmallow.
So bottom line, Paula Deen is fundamentally politically incorrect on a number of levels, therefore an easy target for this kind of thing. But this is not a new game, this gotcha game. Who was the L.A. Dodger executive, the old guy who made idiotic remarks about how black people can't swim? What was that, 30 years ago? More than that?
Or Jimmy the Greek did one, too.
The media is now
the Achilles heel or something.
Obsessed with this game of getting people and blowing up their careers because they say something. Sometimes what they said was vile, and so who cares? Other times, it's just collateral damage, and it's not fair.
Well, if the Food Network thought she would continue to be an asset, they wouldn't have gotten rid of her.
Right. Fair enough. Right.
Yeah, and I think it's what she represents a little bit. She's somebody who's sending Southern food, Southern cooking out to the rest of the nation, and this, there's some soul searching that needs to be going on about whether that, you know, how does that translate? Can you have a celebration of this Southern cooking without the race? Oh gosh, it seems like no, now we have this stereotypical view, and I don't know. I feel like I do feel as though there is a lack of context, a bit of lack of context.